Before everyone knew him as the guy who wrote Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code, he had something a little more timely for now, a digital fortress. And it's Thursday, you know what that means? It's time for us to have another Throwback Thursday. And we're gonna go back in time, throw up that celebration, because Heart of the Stories we tell, and me, Rob the host, is going to take us back to a quick nostalgic look and see how a story was that might be a little bit on the older side. So celebrate your week almost being over as we look at Digital Fortress, the novel by Dan Brown. Now, because this is a true novelization with no movie or TV series, this is going to be a little visually boring. I warn you ahead of time. It's kind of an experiment here. I'll try to keep it as snappy as possible, but just be forewarned. And we'll see how many likes this gets as to whether we do it again. So once again, it's stop. Spoiler time. So let's talk about the setting first. So Dan Brown's novel takes place now, but not now, I guess, because the book came out in 98, and you gotta figure it took him at least a year to write it. And you know what? Things were different back then, but somehow he managed to encapsulate exactly what we would be fearing today. So the basic setting is modern, we're gonna go with, and it's a part of the National Security Agency that specializes in code breaking, a translator program that can break any code. So it was a little sci-fi back then. It's a little sci-fi now. But let's switch gears to who's in this story. The antagonist is NC Tancado. He's a former NSA employee who created the translator program that can break any code. Now he's going to blackmail the NSA. If you don't tell everyone about the program so that they know there's no such thing as security, I'm going to put out a program that can destroy it. And to prove it, I'm going to give you an unbreakable code. And here it is. The boss in charge of it, Commander Trevor Strathmore. So let's talk about some plot for a second here. So the plot is a straightforward with very few flashbacks, although there is one point that it's necessary to flashback to learn what someone's point of view really is. The story is all about the dangers of having something so encrypted that no one can read it, and the dangers of having something that can unencrypt everything. And then who stops you from reading it? And who watches the watchman, as we like to say? The plot itself could be written today about an Apple iPhone, but back then when it was written, we didn't have smartphones. They had a computer the size of a room that could decode anything. And I want to take a slight aside for a moment. And I want to talk about the fact that I do have cousins who are into this sort of thing with military applications. And I want to also talk about the fact that this is something that comes up a lot, especially recently. I saw on a news broadcast, and I had it confirmed by my cousin, exactly how the CIA thinks about codes. Now, it had to do with the whole hacking the DNC server thing, but it could have been anything, really. And here's the important part. This guy stood up and on a news network said, it's not can we break the code, it's how much money are we going to throw at this, how many hours are we going to put into it, because every code is breakable, and Digital Fortress said that first. The point of view shifts between our main protagonist, I should say, her boyfriend who has been sent to investigate physically, and her boss. And throughout the whole story, these switching of POVs allow us to see the whole story. But for the most part, this is really just one person's story. This is the story of the antagonist and his revenge on the CIA and Homeland Security apparatus in general. I got a little ahead of myself during plot and started talking about these themes, but again, these are themes that I think are very important today. In fact, I would love to see Dan Brown adapt this story to a movie or TV series, maybe something like that, today, with today's technology and today's thoughts of terrorism and the difference between safety and privacy. Because that's what the whole theme of it is. How much is your privacy worth to you? You could find this type of story in a lot of places nowadays, but back in 98, 99 when this was written and produced, not so much. we were, home of the free, home of the brave. Now, yes, there are some similarities between it and 1985, but I think the much bigger combination of things that it is that it's a computer thriller that, even being damn near 20 years old, still stands up to the test of time, and you gotta give it props for that. Now, overall, the story could use some rounding out. Some of the characters end up a little bit flat, but you know what? For the most part, this was a damn interesting story, and it was a fun read. And you know what? Dan Brown is great at making you question, who do you trust. If you haven't read it, you should, but let me know down in the comment section what you think. And this time it's twofold what I need you to tell me. One, what you think of the story of Digital Fortress, and two, what you think about me covering books that don't quite have so much visual. As always, it's about that time where I need you to like, share, and subscribe to help me build this community, because we're not just doing Throwback Thursdays. Every weekend I put up a video about a theory of storytelling, and I review TV shows and movies as they come. And if this works out, maybe novels as well. For now, I'd like to thank you for taking this journey with me into the heart of the stories we tell. Have a good night.